This girl traveled by plane every day and never wore her seatbelt. Surprisingly, this habit later saved her life. One day, while the girl was sleeping with her head on her boyfriend's shoulder, a fighter jet collided with the airliner they were traveling in. The violent impact tore a large hole in the fuselage and strong winds swept some of the passengers and flight attendants out of the cabin. Since the girl was not wearing a seatbelt, she continued to crash and roll around the cabin. When the winds started pulling her out too, her boyfriend tried desperately to hold on to her and held on for some time before he got free. The boyfriend grabbed a nearby seat to save himself while the girl fell with the broken parts of the plane. At the moment of the fall, she buckled her seatbelt for the first time in her life, praying in her heart for a miracle. When the fuselage fell to only a few meters from the ground, the speed of descent slowed slightly, and a few seconds later hit the ground. She was lucky to survive. When she awoke, she found herself in a dense forest with a piece of metal lodged in her leg. She knew she had to remove the shard, and the first attempt was excruciatingly painful, but she gritted her teeth and pushed again, finally pulling the shard out and then tearing her clothes into a bandage to cover the wound. She slowly stood up, calling out her boyfriend's name when her eyes fell on the wreckage of the plane behind her. She ran over to it, and upon seeing a body she sat down in shock and fainted. Soon after, a mosquito bite revives her. When the sound of a helicopter is heard, she quickly grabbed a nearby scarf and ran toward the helicopter and waved loudly, but the helicopter flew straight over. Despite the fact that someone on board had seen her, an officer asserted that there was no way anyone could have survived from that high up and probably mistook her for a villager. The pilot was skeptical and decided to turn back to check. Meanwhile, the girl's mother arrives at the airport only to be told that her daughter has been involved in a car accident when she was clearly on the flight. This makes her suspect that things are being hidden. Not giving up, the girl in the forest decides to look for her boyfriend. Just then, a tiger is attracted by the smell of blood. She slowly backed away, but stepped on a branch and was spotted by the tiger. She froze in place in fear. Just then the sound of the helicopter came again. The tiger fled in fear, but the helicopter flew away once again. By now she was exhausted and her wound was throbbing. She tried to smoke for relief, but realized that the cigarette had been crushed long ago. Slightly frustrated, looking at the nearby wood, she suddenly remembered that the flight was heading east and that her boyfriend was sitting in the front of the plane. She used a silver pin and a piece of cloth to estimate the direction, filled her shoes with some water, and tied them tightly in order to walk. After walking for a while, she saw some broken trees and thought she was going in the right direction, but then she slipped and fell into a quagmire and had to struggle to get out. Thereafter she fell again and had to walk on her knees. After a long time, she finally struggled up to a high place, only to find the tiger in front of her again. She ran, with the tiger in hot pursuit, and in her panic she fell into a pit and lost consciousness again. When she woke up, the tiger was gone, but it didn't take long for it to reappear.